Hey guys, good afternoon. Reporting live from the ChatGTM Podcast. Chad, I think I'm still used to being at a show. I'm acting like I'm at an event. What's going on?
I mean, we've got events already etched in our brains and will be hung over for weeks based on how hard we hit it earlier this year.
I think we did walk that back one step. What kind of hangover are we having? Because I don't think you or I participate in the other hangovers.
Event hangover. Too many days of events all at once.
Yes. Yeah. It all bleeds together.
It's semi-traumatic.
Yeah. I don't know about you. Like I've been digging myself out of a snowdrift of work that piles up.
That never ends.
It does.
You just do the most important things.
What's that?
You just do the most important things first.
Oh, you're talking about rocks. Things like things that
It changes day to day, but
okay.
so the rocks do get some attention.
I hope so. I'm kind of babbling here. I guess I babble all the time. That's nothing new. But today I'm really excited. I know you are too. We've joined into a partnership with the company FullON Strategy back, what is it, November? And there's a guy over there, Seth Temko, highly respected in our community, former CMO of a company we both worked at, Par Technology, right? A good friend of ours, Christopher Sieb, speaks effusively about him, about how great he is and how brilliant he is. And we are completely honored, at least for myself. I think you said the same thing to me, that we're able to partner with some organization like this that has so much horsepower. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I remember before I met this guy that we have on today, and people would say, "Oh, he's a good guy." Chris being one of them. It's like, okay, well, people say that about a lot of people. People say that about people I've worked with in the past that aren't. And so it's like, okay, well, let's see. But then to your point, he truly is an amazing guy and super, super talented at that. So our guest is the full package, as they say.
Oh, yes, he's insanely funny. By the way, I think you're going to get an email from a listener named Christopher about being called Chris.
Dang it.
No, there's a sensitivity there. No, you can't. You're stuck with it. You're stuck with it. I love it.
You know what? He's already corrected me on that, so I apologize, Christopher. I hope you don't watch this.
And so with that said, why don't we invite our special guest up to the stage? Everybody, please welcome Mr. Seth Temko. Yay! All right. So, and I'm going to even do this for the audience. So we're using, Squadcast for our recording here, and they took away the green room function. And for those of you who haven't been on a podcast before, typically you have a moment where you hop on with the guest and they join us here. And we brief about what we're going to do. And then you take them off screen. You put them in a space called the digital green room. You have your banner like you just saw with Chad and I. And then you flip the button, you bring them back on stage, just like you're watching the Tonight Show or something. They bring on the guest. Secret is Seth's been here the whole time. We've been awkwardly talking about him right in front of him the entire time. But that's okay. It's on brand for us. So welcome, Seth.
Thank you. It was really good for my ego. So
yeah, you're literally blushing
very much.
So if you guys need to turn down the red tones in your screen, it's Seth. It's not your screen. Wow. So there's your intro. Seth, so how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
It's a gray day here in Nashville, but I have all the lights on, so I'm awake.
You have all the lights on. What does that mean? I'm a little, just a bright light and zipping you up in the room, or?
Yeah, literally. I have overhead lights, and I took out the normal incandescent bulbs and put in these outrageous output LEDs, and it's like daylight in my room, and I find that it's a natural way to be more alert on a gray blot.
I think my room does the same effect, and so does Chad, with the bright colors and things that just pop out all the time. Like, love it. Plus, if somebody who wears glasses too, I always struggle I can't freaking see in any dark shadow. If they look at something small, I need a lot of light. So maybe that helps you too, or you're not you don't struggle with that.
Here, I struggle with it.
Oh, did you have glasses on top of glasses?
I did. I'm resisting bifocal. So
well, you're literally bifocaling. Okay, that's a whole other episode. We're gonna have him on about this thing. His what do they call it? What's that show? Something's their addiction, their bizarre addiction, or something. That's he wears. Did you wear 4 hats too?
No, but I have more than one pair of underwear on, but I will save the viewers.
Oh my, there is so much
Yeah,
to unpack
there you
here.
go.
Okay. We'll put pins in all of that. So Seth, when we're getting on, we're kind of briefing and talking about what we wanted to jam on today. And, last night I went on a tear. I was playing with an AI, doing versions of our little robot Inky, right? And I started out with him holding a big pen, right, and dollar signs around him, sitting on a pile of Scrooge McDuck's money bin bags. And he was because I'm trying to figure out some personas for our website that we're making with Cali Barbecue Media, right? And so there's panels that we're having. They'll have the sales GTM, the marketing GTM, the partner GTM, and making personas for each. And so I landed on this little guy at the end, flying a rocket, solving a Rubik's Cube puzzle, and a GTM logo on the front of the thing as he's blazing across the universe. And all of a sudden, I had this moment of clarity. I'm like, this one is me, or this one is us. It's a combination of problem solving and a little energy. He's got red Converse shoes on, like he's going on a trip and knows he's gonna have to walk a bit too.
Sure.
But that long and meandering intro on this is GTM, right? And I really didn't know what it meant. And I probably even now, though I'm in the business, I might not actually know what it actually really means, because at first I thought, well, go to market, that's sales, right? And I talked to somebody else and they go to market, that's marketing, right? So demystify it. But what is go to market? You're the guy. Like you are a marketer. Like, actually give a little background first on what you do, and then maybe talk a little bit, and then help us understand what GTM what your definition of GTM is.
I've been involved with hospitality tech going all the way back to 1999. So 1.0 kind of days where there was no model. All models are being created. There were no rules. You're creating rules. You're breaking rules. You'd actually buy something on Amazon, and a coworker would say, "Did your credit card get stolen?" And you'd say, "No, it was okay." Right? It was all questionable. It was all. And in restaurant tech, I mean, you knew all 100 players. Like, you could name off the companies that were involved in technology, and maybe there were 200. It was a small universe.
Yeah.
Flash forward to today, I don't even know how many restaurant tech, hospitality tech companies there are. I mean, there's got to be thousands in the US, globally over 10,000. Sure, why not, right? SaaS model has absolutely changed things.
Yes.
So I've been VP of product management, and we would sell liquor monitoring equipment that would be when Apple came out with the first iPhones, I was taking those accelerometers and putting them into microelectronics to track pouring in real time at Cosmopolitan and MGM and Treasure Island and Mohegan Sun and some of the big resort systems.
Is this at all marketing, guys? This is like, you're more than marketing. Like
It was a renaissance. I mean, I got a master's with a focus in marketing, but when I was getting my master's, I was actually working at Aurora University, and I was, to pay for it all, I was a hall director, right? So I was the guy who was breaking up the beer parties and all that kind of stuff. I was that great.
Codename Buzz Killington.
Yeah, that was my job. And I was on campus all the time, so I was always tech-oriented, and I was friends with the administrators for all the computer labs and that. And back in 97, it was the universities that had the internet. And we had T1 lines, so hey, that was a dedicated 1 megasecond. That was, man, that was
What year was that?
1997.
I was stealing access to those lines by doing pub scanning back in the days.
So I was helping build computers and just learning Novell networking, because they're going to beat Microsoft, right? Back in the day, it wasn't known. You didn't know who was going to win. And I started doing marketing research by spamming via email. And I got in the heart of January in the Chicago area. It's just freezing cold. And my cohorts were all at the Metra stations in the suburbs in the freezing cold trying to survey people. And I found went to the library, school library, pulled a yellow book of email addresses, created a
Literal
randomizer.
book.
There was a book. Yes, it was a spammer book. They just didn't know it was a
My
spammer book.
gosh.
Literally,
It's not a
yellow
microfiche.
pages, email addresses and names and all that. So I had to survey women, did the survey, sent them out, and I was done in 45 minutes. A couple people said, your spamming is going to ruin the internet. I didn't know what spam was. I asked the webmaster for the university, what's a spammer? It's like, spam a lot, the thing from Monty Python. I'm like, oh, okay. And what it really showed me is that the internet could be commercialized. And this was when Windows 3.3 was coming out.
Wow.
So it was the graphical user. So this is all early,
Really?
right? What does this have to do with marketing? Well, I said, I want to learn about internet marketing. So I went to Barnes & Noble. That's when you actually had to buy a book. And that weekend, I read every book on internet marketing, all 3 of them.
I was going to say, how many books are
Yeah.
there?
In one weekend.
All 3 of them. And like keyword optimization, SEO at the
Yeah.
time was, if I'm selling shoes and you're selling shoes on a website and you're putting in shoes, gym shoes and all that, I put in shoes, gym shoes, and I would rank higher than
More
you
shoes.
would. I'm not kidding you. This is how SEO worked at the time. So those
Beautiful
were early
algorithms.
days. Those were early days. And when I got done with the MBA program, I just knew that I wanted to work somewhere where I could work with the internet. And that was, I worked at a company called Relo, which is downtown Chicago. And they were an independent network of real estate companies, national. And I got to create a whole new website that was consumer lead generation focused. I did a lot of content deals with new real estate content providers at the time. I got to help work with Greg Bush, he has his own company now, software company. Work with Greg Bush to convert the dial-up software system to an internet-based platform to do all the referrals and trading. And then through that, I became an e-commerce manager at Hartford Computer Group, which was a $500 million revenue value-added reseller of our company. And we were taking down dedicated data lines to Sears Corporate and Aon Insurance Corporate in that, and using TCP/IP in a secured method to do e-commerce transactions. And this was all new. And so to say, digital marketer did not exist, that came later. Like all those things came later. And so the path was, because I was pretty good with technology, I understood business models. I went from being e-commerce and marketing to doing product management and technology management. So I was a CTO, a VP of operations, programming teams, US, India, Asia, manufactured custom electronics and products, creating whole solutions, worked at some great startups where we were absolutely dead right about the need in the industry. We were just 3 or 4 years too early.
Mm-hmm.
When you're at, non-profitable cash burn is, not good. So you learn those lessons as well. And then I got back into marketing when I had the privilege of being the head of marketing at Xenial, working for Christopher Siebes.
Yep.
And
Was
actually,
it Xenial then, or was it still XPN?
that is a great question. So when I started working, technically I was a Heartland employee, and pretty short order, the acquisition to Global Payments occurred. And our group was called Heartland Commerce. So it was multiple POS products, including Expedient. So Expedient, Digital Dining, we had PC America and some other
Dinerware.
brands. And it was all in that one group. And then we were creating a cloud-based platform, which was called Xenial. And then that became the name of the company.
Got it. I wonder, what year was that?
That was 7 years.
I think I missed you like by a year. I worked with Siebes and Bob Thomas over there and Tracy Gallimore and that team.
Was it Xenio or was it Expian?
It was Expian. I think
So
I
you're
missed like a year.
you're probably before me, I think. And then when Christopher Siebes left, and I left, and I worked for a company called Yext. I was VP of go-to-market.
Yep.
And COVID hit, so we had to stand up a lot of new verticals because restaurant and retail just kind of stopped buying for good reason. And then I've been the CMO at Touch Bistro and Apart Technology, so kind of the progress of it. And then 2 years ago, I just went independent, felt a calling from God to go a different direction. And so we started FullON Strategy. I have a team of really great people.
Yes, you do.
We get, well, because we've been helping you.
Yeah.
And we help a lot of our partners. And for clients, we do go-to-market strategy work. And then we do marketing, what I call marketing augmentation, which is really anything an agency can do, but we do strategy first as a philosophy, which is typical of what you would find in marketing agency. Some do strategy and make it a component. That's the heart of everything that we do.
Thank you for all that. And so, and if this my ADHD kicked in, I didn't catch it. Did we define GTM yet?
We did not. So
what is GTM? What is go-to-market?
So go-to-market, my definition is it's the intersection of sales, marketing, and your product efforts. And where they intersect, think of it as three lines coming together. That point, you're now going to connect into a segment, a specific area of one or multiple vertical markets.
All right. So I'm not the smartest guy out there sometimes. Just dumb it down for me one notch.
Sure. So you have something to sell that has value, product or service. You have to ask yourself, who do I sell it to? If you are blessed to be in the U.S. market, congratulations. You're in the largest economy of the world. That's a good thing.
Bonus.
Pretty much any market you look at is going to be $1 billion or more. Hair dryers, sure, $1 billion market. Beauty supplies, multi-billion dollars market. Restaurant technology, billions of dollars market available.
Got it.
So those markets are so large that no one has the product capability nor the financial wherewithal to be all things to all potential buyers in one particular market. So you have to choose
which market you're going to.
Which market, which vertical, and within a vertical, usually they're so large. So take restaurant,
$1
trillion, it's kind of large, million different locations to sell to, kind of many. So you have to, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yep.
Choose which end, trunk or tail, you're going to start. And then once you choose, then you have to design your product to be the best fit for that focus in the market.
Product market fit.
And then you have to make sure that your sales and your marketing programs align, are targeted correctly, and provide feedback loops to your product teams as well. So when they all work together, all three of them, you have the correct intersection, and then usually you have the best probabilities of success.
Seth, I would imagine people watching would absolutely have understood marketing as part of go-to-market, probably sales, and would have been less experienced with thinking about product as part of go-to-market. We've all talked to companies that's like, hey, I built a really cool piece of software, and now I'm going to just sell it to the market. And they might even pick a niche, right? Pick a target and define their ICP, ideal customer profile. But you have a more advanced understanding of how the product fits in the go-to-market. Could you pick out, like, what do most companies, before you talk to them, what do they miss about how product fits in their go-to-market strategy?
Let's take restaurant tech as an example and a common conversation that I have. And if you are So let's talk about urgency for revenue growth and market validation. So if you have a new company and you're creating a product, if you're going to sell to a SMB, small, medium, let's just say small restaurant, below 10 locations, let's even say single unit. So you don't have the complexity of variations between locations, single unit. Single unit location has a lot less complexity, therefore requires a lot less of development effort, time, and money than, say, multi-unit, even 2, 3, 4, 5. And especially if you get into enterprise, and lots of people define enterprise different ways, but let's just say you now have this concept of groups of stores as districts or regions or states or however you do that. I'd say when you have a restaurant group that is doing that, you probably are in enterprise territory and you'll have different needs. So if I'm doing a startup and I have a new product coming to market, do I want to take 4 to 5 years to build a product and validate it in the enterprise space? Or do I want to take 18 to 24 months and begin generating revenue in the SMB, small or single unit space? And almost every time, start right away, generate revenue right away. I'm going to learn, I'm going to be agile, I'm going to use SaaS technologies to leverage that. I'm going to go quickly. And then, of course, then we'll figure it all out. Well, one of the challenges on a product basis is you have already architected in your data structure how you're going to approach market. And then when you need features and functionality that more complex businesses need, you're going to find that it's not just that you have to write or codify the UI, UX, and the high-level functions, but you actually need to change data structures and underlying technologies. So if we just look at from the perspective of I'm making a go-to-market choice, I'm going to go with individual independent locations. If I have not made a future-proofing decision that we will architect our product from day one to serve the ultimate market we want to move to, which is the enterprise space, I'm going to pay the piper in the long run because I'm going to have a lot of significant technical challenges, or some may classify it as tech debt, to backfill, to then get into position in the ultimate part of the market that I want to get to.
Quick follow-up question to Chad's. What are like some of the things you see or have seen and experienced that are, let's call it comorbidities in execution of initial go-to-market for a company, whether it's over-investing in something, whether it's paying attention to the wrong things, whether it's arrogance, right? What are the things that, companies should be mindful of this part of the journey? If I'm a tech founder and I'm rolling something out and I'm really trying to crack the code, this is something that's probably extremely valuable to know.
We'll take it in the different categories we talk about: marketing, sales, and product. So for product, agile is good. MVP is good. Customer feedback directly is great, but not too much customer feedback. So I'll give you an example of two really talented programmers in Canada in their 20s, young. They wrote a POS. They wrote online order. Full stack developers, really talented individuals. And they modeled it on their uncle's restaurants. So you could do online ordering, you could do order counter, it had basic KDS, it had inventory functions. I had never seen two programmers in a couple of years build basically a full stack product. But when I evaluated it, I said, this is perfect for your uncle's restaurants. And
nobody else.
More, right?
What kind of restaurant they have?
I think it was Purple Onion, and it's in Toronto, and I don't know the restaurants, right? So it's just a couple locations. So when they said, hey, will you help us sell it? I said, unfortunately, I think you'd have to start over, and I don't think the world needs another point of sale. However,
wow,
here's a completely different product category and space that very few are in, if any. And if you want to get involved with that, here's an area that I can connect you with. And they chose to do that, right?
And is there a follow-up story to them?
Well, yeah, we're launching and we've already been building Incentive, which is an ad-based, easy-to-use platform, beta test in restaurants. And we have currently 31 total by Verizon Wireless stores doing local marketing using it. And they're going to add 14 more. So that's plugging what we're doing a little bit, but that's an example. I know an extreme example, right? Ever. It's an extreme example of saying, hey, so incentive.com, that's NCENTIV.com, sign up today.
Yeah, it's shameless plugging. Okay.
There's the shameless plugin. That's an extreme example, but you can go too deep. You can say, oh, this person is the authority, or I'm going to build for a brand, and you need to recognize that early, and you need to generalize it because you're going to paint yourself into a corner. Another thing too is investing in integrations. I think too few companies do that. So
Amen.
I am tired of hearing, can you do these certain things with another company? And they say, yeah, we have an integration. And you need to say, okay, let's time out and say,
what does that mean?
Can you define the integration technology and what you can do with it? And that's another example with it. So build these things proactively and think in a broader base, and you'll be more successful because you'll be able to be more agile and flexible. On the sales front, the founders need to do the selling themselves. Do not hire, unfortunately, you guys yet, because
we agree with you.
We're not the sales guys.
We agree with you.
Yeah, the founders really need to be involved in that, and you can't pull the founders out of that equation. They need to be the first ones to sell.
Yep.
And they need to be the first ones to onboard, and they need to be the first ones to service, and they need to have the rocks and the shoes and the pain.
Absolutely. They're also disconnected from what's going on there, right? And now they can always say, well, it's just the sales guys. It's not selling because of them. And they need to understand what's being said, what's being shared, that feedback you're giving back to the team. Just to clarify for people listening, we actually prescribe to this. We say, don't hire the big expensive sales guy out of the gate. In fact, you probably want to find other ways to get your product out there. We believe that the founders should be the ones doing the selling. And that, in fact, if you hire a BDR, if that company hires a BDR and they hire the very expensive sales guy, they're actually getting the same thing, because both of them are doing what? They're booking appointments for the founder to go do the storytelling anyways. Right? So save yourself the money.
So
yeah.
And then on the marketing side, too early is not having defined your primary value proposition. So value proposition dictates all communications. So create a value statement then you can create your value propositions, and then you pull up your key features and functions. Only your key features and functions. So software is so complicated. And I feel like, especially if they're developer-focused founders, they want to, bore everyone into submission about the 150 additional features they have versus someone else. And people do not buy on intellect, they buy on emotion. Understand the problems that you solve for people, the pain points that have real value from their perspective. Codify that in your communications, standardize it, and stick to those points. And remember that how you become known is repetition. Drip, drip, drip. It is low restaurant tech marketing torture. You should be dripping out repeated, limited messages again.
Waterboarding your audience.
So
go ahead, Ted.
So Seth, a lot of what you're saying is just education, knowledge gaps that, founders, companies need to have closed, right? By working with an expert such as yourself. But as I talk to startup founders, one of the best feelings I can get at the end of the conversation is feeling like they're grounded, that they have a strong sense of reality. And I'm curious flip it around, what delusions you encounter the most often in startup founders, because there's a lot of them out there.
Money cures all ills. That's a
It doesn't.
common misconception. Any deal is a good deal. I think
we know that one, huh?
I think that comes up quite a bit.
Yep.
Ignoring bad behaviors, which are really leading indicators that you have a pipeline gap.
Okay.
Say more.
All right. So I have forecast on sales.
Yeah.
Which orients up and to the right. That's the hockey stick. That's the hypergrowth.
Yep.
That's the marching beat of the company, right? Especially if you've been funded. Congratulations. Your company is now not your own.
And now you got to really dance. Yeah.
Now you're on stage on performance, and you have to hit your marks every time.
And they can yank it off at any time at that point,
So,
right?
Month to month, quarter by quarter, end of year, and you start seeing you have a CRM, Salesforce, HubSpot, something else. You have your pipeline, you have your stages, you have your probabilities, you have your documentations, and now you feel like you are the master of your universe. I see all, I know all, my radar is all on point. But we know that planes can crash, right? Unfortunately, as a reality. Sorry.
I wonder your timing on that, but okay.
Well, from this perspective, as you can start seeing the warning blips on the radar, you can start seeing pull forwards. So this deal really should be closing next month, but I'm going to arm wrestle them into submission to drop that deal this month. So I'm going to bug the crap out of them and really get them to hate me.
And blow it up
by the time I have that deal done. Or I will bribe them. So I start a discounting schedule. If you sign this deal before the 31st, we'll take an additional whatever off, or you will discount your product because you will include freebie items.
Yeah.
Or you'll do contract gymnastics, which is sign the contract today, but we won't start invoicing you for 90 days.
Right.
Okay.
So to me, all of these things, and these are all CFO approved, right? At the end of the day. So now the financial group, which is supposed to be the yin for the yang, the sales efforts and the mantra to sign the contracts. The finance group is supposed to be the balancing of that, saying, hey, come on, let's look at CAC, let's look at minimum deal economics and the financial performance. And it all starts being okay. And why? Because revenue is the principal driver with it all. However, especially in SaaS, it's not really the revenue number at the time that's the most important. It's the total contract value. So if you start discounting those contracts, you may have multiple years of discount that you've baked in. Because if you say, well, we'll discount the first year, and you're looking to hit a number, they're going to arm wrestle you into the whole contract, one way or another. And I don't know too much. And I think a lot of SaaS companies are especially if you negotiate deal by deal, you're going to end up living that for pretty much the lifespan of that client. Because I really don't know any SaaS companies that have been raising prices in our space.
Yeah, and what you do like a CPI increase every now and then, if that makes sense, right? Sometimes you bring that along. No,
I don't really think I've seen that too much in restaurant tech. I know at Yext, we used to not like multi-year contracts. We like to have single year contracts so that we could build in the CPI index numbers like that into it, have some justification for it. But I think especially in the enterprise space, if you're doing POS in enterprise, you're going to be in there 8 to 10 years. For sure.
Yeah.
and you're going to do a 5-year contract at minimum. And that contract is going to be the basis for your renegotiation. And the last thing you want to do is have it go up for bid.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much negotiating power anybody really has.
Have you ever seen and I don't know if you've seen this either, Chad, companies that take a deal or a vendor takes a deal and they've been negotiated so hard, then they do it and then they hate the actual client because they're like, they're working us so hard for this and oh my God, they don't pay us enough. But whose fault is that? It's not the client. They asked for it. They negotiated hard and they won. But I think there's some wisdom in being truthful what you're willing to do for that money. Right?
Yeah, I think the question is, and I think that startup founders and the CEOs of public companies in our space, although the company is dramatically different size, I think they have the same kind of pressure, which is ongoing quarterly performance and gain. The numbers may be different, but percentages actually might be pretty similar. So if you look at a PAR and a Toast and an Olo, they're under a lot of pressure as public companies to hit certain revenue growth targets and rates on a continuous basis.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the more mass you have, the more energy it takes to move and grow that mass. Startups, sure, the numbers are smaller, but the expectations on rate of growth are still very high. And you have all the immaturities of scaling immaturities. So you can be overly successful, really land a very large account, and then not be backlogged on onboarding other companies because you're not designed for that level of growth. For the bigger companies, they're designed for scale.
That is something so really deep to drill in on. If we could have a whole session just on that, Chad, like that's something that's a big part of it.
Once in a while, I'll encounter a company that proudly trumpets that they're bootstrapped, they're self-funded because they're ultimately saying, because of the fact that we're not going to have these pressures, artificial pressures to hit a number in a certain time, we're going to make smart, healthy decisions for our own business and for our clients. And as a result, everybody's going to enjoy a more stable, predictable relationship in the future. It's true.
Well, it's a lovely sentiment, but depending on your product, that may not be a reality. It might be more reality distortion here than it is reality. And well, if you're pure SaaS and your product is your product-led company, which very few in restaurant tech are product-led. And let me define product-led, right? So product-led basically means that salespeople are not involved in the process of buying a product, and our people are not involved in getting people up and running on the software. In that case, marketing drives the revenue.
That's rare in our industry.
Pretty rare. Not an incentive which you can go to. We designed it to be product-led. And when you're product-led, then you have a significant advantage in scaling. However, you can't do customization for the most part. Your product is your product, and people will sign up, use it, pay for it, right? You could do month to month, low friction, all of that. When you have a product that's involved and especially requires configuration, installation, and you're hands-on. So you can't just set a price. You can't do the, marketing runs on the rules of 3, I'll put 3 prices. Here's the low cost. Here's the medium cost I want the majority of people to come to. And here's enterprise call for quote. You're always called for quote because you need to understand what is the scope of what you need to replace. What are the integrations and other technologies that you need to connect to? What are the specific requirements or gap in features and functions that you must fill those gaps or they will not use your product, like they're considered critical to the organization. Whether they're truly that important or not doesn't really matter. Perception is reality in that case. And then you have to do In the case of point of sale, it's highly complex. You're literally going to shut down a business operation, hopefully for only a day for most point of sale systems.
Yep.
You're going to rip out all the hardware in the network and replace it, and all new hardware with new software. You're going to try to train the staff and support them in the next day or two. And hopefully it's only one day down. That's one day of no revenue. That's CapEx expense on hardware.
Yep.
And in a SaaS model, you can't start charging for the software unless you put it in contractually, but for the most part, until they're actually using the product.
It seems like they used to do that years ago, is you'd sign somebody up and you say, yeah, we're building for all units right away. And then that was looking after a while, like, why? No, you're not. As they come live, nice try.
Well, that's the client server days. And so you weren't selling product, you're selling licenses.
Yeah, you had hardware to provision too, right?
Yep. And that was much more profitable days. So now in a SaaS model, you have pressure to actually have use, to actually generate revenue, and it puts a lot of performance pressure. And usually for restaurants, they're just legitimately so busy with so many other things. There's a lot of challenges to getting on a schedule and getting everything put in place. So from that standpoint, you can be a victim of success. You could, let's talk about big funding rounds. So everybody applauds on LinkedIn. On shares and likes that someone finished a big seed round.
Got their money.
Or their Series A, they brought in 4 million, 6 million, 8 million.
Yep.
Congratulations. Of course, their plan was all a spreadsheet plan. Execution is easy when you just change the number and a model.
I'll just add a 0. Okay.
And day one after funding, you have a head count. Now you're going to grow a head count. And the next month, you're going to grow a head count again, because all these scaling expectations. Either you're going to scale on the product side or scale on the sales, operations, marketing side all at once. I don't know. What I find is a lot of founders who are doing this for the first time. They're going to light a high percentage of their cash on fire, and it's going to have no productive result to the business. And it's simply because, in my humble opinion, you had a financial plan, but you did not have a go-to-market strategy.
So that's one of the things I wanted to get to. And I only have a little bit of time left for this session. Definitely want to have you come back to keep expanding on some of these ideas. But let's round this out with a little bit of strategy. I know we're not going to go far or deep, as strategy typically needs, but let's give a little highlights on that, because you're connecting strategy to all these things in some way, shape, or form, as you called that out, whether it's your spending strategy, whether it's your hiring, or where you're doing the early parts. But let's knit this together, a little bit of strategy for everybody.
Okay. So if you're gonna go on a journey, you need a destination. So you should start with your strategy by looking at your forecasts. Every company has these revenue forecasts. And you say, I like to go only about 2 years out, because I think beyond 2 years, it gets really fuzzy. You just don't have enough data today to project out, assuming you're going to hit your growth targets, beyond 2 years. It becomes, many more variables come into play. So look at the next 12 months, next 24 months, and say, what are your revenue growth targets? Now, go and do discovery within a business and say, what product do you have? How is it positioned and where in the market? Take the customer and accounts and start saying, does that validate your stated positioning? You say you're selling mid-enterprise, but look, we examine the customer bases and say, the 60% of SMB is delivering 34% of your revenues. That may not be the best place, and that may not validate, what you're stating that your positioning is, as an example. And then we can interview customers to kind of understand where you're hitting marks and not on value of the product that you have. And then what other maybe service issues do you have? And what other competitors that they consider? So you can go through that process to do that. You examine the current sales and marketing programs And you can start extrapolating that out and saying, okay, well, let's go back a year and let's see what your performance was and what it took to get to that point. Now let's look at your forecasted years and say, what is the probability if we did nothing else? If we did no new programs, no changes to the product, like no new revenue lines or that to come with product changes, how does that extrapolate out? What do we think the probabilities of success are? And then start filling those gaps. So it's looking at what are the greatest opportunities with the lowest risks. And let's start there with our strategy. If we don't have to take 3-point shots, let's do dunks, right? Let's move
with a
closer
step
to the
ladder.
basket. Yeah. Can I get on your, I'm only 5'6". Can I get on your shoulders, please? Right. And put that ball in the basket.
Well, that's partnership now we're talking about. Yeah. So
And then start talking about what are the other channels?
yeah.
What are the differences in market? What is your most profitable customers in your existing pipeline?
Yep.
What percentage of your pipeline is actually directed to the most profitable segment that you're proving with your own customer base? If you're blessed to have been around and you have thousands of customers and some of them maybe larger multi-units, have you actually gotten into all of those locations? Hey, some of them are growing.
Yeah.
Oh, when you start examining it, you say, oh, wow, you have internal TAM and it's 6 or 7 figures. Maybe it makes sense to take one salesperson and direct them just to work on those accounts.
Growth and expansion.
Probably that would help. Like, that's what I'm talking about, moving closer to the basket, taking shorter shots, right? Do you have channel partnerships? Okay, we have partnerships, we have integrations, but Chad, as you know, that is there attribution? Do they generate revenue?
Yeah.
Are there leads that come in? Are those leads actually documented and recorded? Is there a person whose responsibility is to actually work those numbers and make them successful? On the marketing front, do you actually have lead generation programs? Are you leveraging the partnerships to actually work with them on a co-marketing basis? Are you going to trade shows and just setting up a booth? Or do you actually understand those leads and work those leads? Is your marketing working on marketing lives in the future? It does not live in the present. So when I was the CMO at Touch Bistro, I was proud to say that marketing delivered the majority of revenues over sales, not by a lot, but enough that we were the majority. And we would have monthly meetings about where we are at with sales. And I was just very upfront that when we got to within about 3 weeks of the end of the month, we're done. I wasn't looking at that month anymore. I was looking at the month after, and the month after that, and the month after that, and the year after that. And then on your marketing programs, do you have marketing R&D budgeted?
Oh,
Some percentage of your...
wait, what's marketing R&D?
So it's a concept that I brought in every time I was head of marketing. So what happens is typically in marketing, you take what you did last year, you copy that in the spreadsheet, you paste it into the new year, you paste the numbers, you try to adjust them up a little bit, and you say, here's my marketing budget plan. So
It's like the restaurant version of copying a schedule and just bringing it over without adjusting it.
It happens in budgeting all the time, especially with the bigger organizations, right? So the bigger the organization, the more the copying.
Yeah.
What you really need to do is take a percentage, 10. I prefer 20%, minimum of 10% of that budget. So if you have $100,000 budget, $10,000 to $20,000. If you have a $10 million budget, $1 to $2 million sounds like a lot. You'd be surprised with the numbers you have to accomplish.
Yeah.
And this is what I would say to the finance groups. We need to try new and different things. We need to innovate in marketing so we can better support the company. And things are changing really fast.
Yeah.
And there's also trends. Things that work today are in danger of not working tomorrow.
Always.
And things that are working well, it would be nice to, without going through backflips, to be able to put more budget into it immediately. So we get immediate benefit because a contracted dollar in January is worth 12 of what a contracted dollar in December is. So can we move faster? Can we try new things? Can we innovate? Can we be responsive? Can we respond to trends? Budgeting and dollars is usually the barrier. So you're locked in. I can't do anything new until next budget year. Should never be the challenge. So I tell finance, you should set the expectation that those dollars for your purposes of planning will yield zero return. It's as if we are throwing that money away. And I say, I guarantee that is not the case. But I do not know because this is new and we have no data.
We're testing.
Cannot tell you what that result will be. It'll be better than zero. And I know you finance guys, you like positive surprises more than negative surprises.
I have to ask this because it's been popping off ever since we started talking about this. We're coming up on the cusp of trade show season, right? We got, RLC, we got FS Tech down the road, we got Mertech. And these are all big debates that a lot of our clients are having with each other, right? Within their own organizations, not clients. What is a smart move? Like, the rising costs of shows, right, is becoming significant. A booth that was $10,000, a few years ago is now $20,000. And because, we talk about, cash flow and availability of funds and the impact of what we spend our money on and budgeting and strategy, how should small startups be thinking about these things? Should they go all in on a big booth? Like, what does the wise money say there?
Well, one, I do think that companies do need to go to trade shows. I think you should be really selective. I think if you don't know a trade show, don't get a booth, just attend.
Yep.
Just get in.
Yeah.
And walk the floor the first year and go to many of the, you still do networking. You can still do a dinner and invite people. You can do some things outside of having a booth. I know companies in the beginning, like RLC, Restaurant Leadership Conference, is at a beautiful resort, JW Marriott, Desert Springs in Scottsdale. Gorgeous, gorgeous property.
Met my wife there. Okay.
Well, then it's special for you, isn't it? And I know lots of startup folks that they couldn't afford the booth, but they hung out in the lobbies and all that. They would do a free drinks thing at the bar, and they would get restaurant reservations, and there's nothing that would prevent you in that venue from doing those things.
How do you feel about suitcasers? I mean, I've done it.
I mean, I know why the shows get irritated with it. I think that there are appropriate and inappropriate ways to do it. Mm-hmm. So I think that if you are at a show, you go in there and you talk to people and invite them outside of that venue. The show people would say no to everything, but that's pretty low key and that's non-disrupt. However, if you're carrying a briefcase and pulling out documents and shoving them in people's faces and
doing a demo,
I think that's inappropriate to the spirit of the show. With that being said, if you're in hustle culture and you're under pressure to generate revenue, you're going to do what you're
going to be scrappy,
right?
Yeah, I agree with it.
But what I would say is, if you're going to do a show, then leverage the show fully. So get as small a participation as you can in the beginning.
Yep.
FS Tech has Innovator Alley. Mertech has their own Innovation Alley. Really low cost alternatives. It gets you 2 passes to these shows. You have a very small booth space, but you don't need to bring anything.
Yeah.
The show attendees are very interested in keeping up with new technologies because they're the tech crowd. So they'll go to those. And anyone who goes to the shows and you have a booth, the booth is just the beginning.
Yeah.
You should.
Actually, it's the middle part, right? It's pre-game. It's just as important.
Absolutely. Yeah. So pre-game, get your marketing game on, get your lists, Send out email, send out invites. All you
Yeah.
want to do is just have a conversation or meet people.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a captive audience. Get a guest suite. So you're going to get a hotel room anyways on the property. Spring for something with a living room. Now we have a meeting space.
Wisdom.
Right?
Dropping knowledge bombs here.
Get some beverages, some drinks. Make it a relaxed, off the floor environment that people can just chill with. You can set up demos there. You can have conversations about goals. You can get to know them as people. Really great. Do some dinner reservations in the area. If you want to really cut the cost further, do it through some sort of relationship with a non-competing brand. Now you're inviting people, they're inviting people.
Better
you're
together.
Sharing that opportunity together, and you're sharing costs. And then, of course, you have the post-show follow-up, and I think that's where there's a lot of fail.
Yeah, they dropped the ball there. They had all these great conversations, and it doesn't convert.
Right. And I look at it as from a marketing lens. Sales is about pipeline, conversation, contract, close. Marketing is awareness, education, then pipeline, right? Then contract close. And then after that, happy customer that we can use as a case study and a referral source. And, we get organic opportunities via that.
Yeah, it's funny how it's all knits together in these dependencies if you do it right. But if you do it right, it's so much more than ever would have been, right?
And then getting back to selling on the trade show floor, I think the NRA show is so huge and open. Like you can walk around and sell at that show for sure.
Yes. Or at least use that as your, like, if in my thoughts for the people listening or watching is that if you don't know what show to do NRA. It's it's cheap to get in. You can go around and meet all the key players and just get kind of just a sense of the, lack of a better word, topography of the industry and what's out there, right? Like at every level.
So we've had there's a lot of restaurant tech companies outside the U.S. Everyone in the U.S. tries to ignore it, blinders on.
Yes.
And they look at the U.S. market and go, hey, that's a big market.
Yes.
How do I
that market?
So we've worked with companies in the Middle East and in Europe, and NRA show, I love to invite some of the CEOs or heads of sales to come in and then come to that show. And literally I set up a whole afternoon of just intros, walking around, and I've done it all in advance.
Yep.
Right?
That's what we do too.
You've probably done something similar. And
it's awesome.
You spend 3-4 hours. They stop in and visit 5 or 6 companies, establish those connections face to face. It's an excellent opportunity to do that.
Love that. Well, hey, this has been fantastic. I mean, there's so much to unpack. I think if I'm going to go listen to it again because I don't know if I caught all that you gave. My mind was retrieving what it meant to me as I was hearing it. So, Seth, you're awesome. Like, I love this. This was not the conversation I was expecting to have. This was amazing. Like, really.
We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, literally. And so for the people listening, I know you gave a shameless plug to one of the things that you are working on. However, if they want to find FullON Strategy, give us the places they can see and find you, what shows you're going to be at next so they can run into you.
Sure.
Yeah.
So FullOnStrategy.com, that's our website. My phone number is on there, a link to my Calendarly. I'm happy to speak to anyone and just understand enough to see if we can help you. I'm probably the worst sales person to be in consulting because I'm an honest consultant. If I can't help you, I'll tell you that. If I know someone else that can help you better, right? If I know someone who can help you better, I will refer you to that person for sure.
That's what we love about you.
And then on LinkedIn. So I do a lot of posting and content, and then I also have partnerships with Results Through Strategy and Branded Hospitality, and I put articles in Hospitality Hangout on a regular basis.
Our friends Shatsy, Jimmy, and Julie over there at Brand.
Great people.
Absolutely. All friends of Ink Tanks as well. Chad, any parting words?
We overstayed our welcome. We understand that, everybody listening. Thanks for the extra time.
Yeah.
But hopefully found the conversation as valuable as we did. So thank you for listening in.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging in with us. I think Seth was worth it. And you guys that were really listening, I think you hung in there quite a bit. Seth, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
This
Seth.
has been ChatGTM signing off, and we'll see you next time around. Have a great day.